Hey, I would guess this would comprise part two, the Fuji X-T10 versus the Fuji X-T1. Ultimately, do you really want to pay almost twice as much more for the same processor and same output between the two, the Fuji X-T1 and the Fuji X-T10? Well, there really is no question that the Fuji X-T1 is obviously so made in Japan versus the Fuji X-T10. The question then becomes, well, is it really worth it to get that camera with the all-magnesium chassis that's made in Japan that has a weather sealing? Well, as I've told you before, none of them are sealed against pervasive weather. So weather sealing really doesn't matter for a whole damn lot. If you're shooting out in bad weather, both of these cameras, including a Nikon D3 or anything else, it's going to take a crap on you. I mean, they're not sealed against pervasive. What's pervasive? That means long-term heavy rain, which you're shooting in weather like that, then you're an idiot. You know, you can have a plastic bag around the camera, get the hell out of the rain. And they're certainly not sealed against humidity, regardless of the weather sealing gaskets that are present on the Fuji X-T1 versus the X-T10. None of them are sealed against humidity. You're going to have corrosion on some of the primary boards, and you're going to have premature failure of the camera, and it's going to need a service call. The same thing goes for the Nikon D4S, or the Nikon D3, or any other camera. Pervasive weather. Weather sealing means it is sealed against temporary invasive weather. None of them are sealed against pervasive. So the notion that, well, the Fuji X-T1 is just far superior because it has weather sealing, well, that's bullshit. Period. Flat out. If you're shooting in bad weather, you're an idiot. I hope you got insurance on the camera. More importantly, and a lot cheaper than spending an additional many hundreds of dollars more for the Fuji X-T1, is just to buy an insurance policy on your Fuji X-T10, which will run you about $20 a year. It covers everything. Drops, spills, thefts, loss, so on and so forth. That is, of course, if you live in the United States. I think Australia has something very similar to that. The other question is well, obviously the ergonomics on the Fuji X-T1 is very traditional. There is no doubt that the Fuji X-T1 is the sexy bitch. However, am I that impressed that the ISO dials and continuous low, continuous high shooting and matrix metering versus spot metering has been removed from manual dials off of the Fuji X-T1 and been relegated to buttons on the Fuji X-T10? No, I don't really care. The Fuji X-T10 is a lot lighter, so a good bit smaller. The value on it is exquisite. How much do you want to spend for that? I mean, do I really care that I have ISO dial and subcommand dials here for use on single, continuous low, continuous high, or that I have another sub dial over here for spot metering, matrix metering? No, I really don't. Do I love the Fuji X-T1? Am I going to be returning it? No, I already had use of it for about a week or 5 days, 2 months ago or so, and I planned on buying it anyway. I mean, I think it's an incredible camera with the same output and relegating the ISO dial and the other dials that are on the top of the Fuji X-T1 that has been sub-relegated to buttons on the Fuji X-T10. I don't really give a damn. Is the Fuji X-T1 a little bit more impressive as far as looking through the viewfinder with a wider field of view? Yeah, it is. That's definitely a plus. So what are the ultimate pluses of the Fuji X-T1? Is the vertical grip a plus? Well, yeah, it is. And I'm definitely a hardcore slut for vertical grips. I mean, I grew up with them on my pair of Nikon F4Ss, and I just about cannot live without a vertical grip. I can, but I'm so used to using them that it's almost pacify a reflex for me anyway that I want a camera with a vertical grip. That certainly may not be the case for you. If it is, then go ahead and get the Fuji X-T1. The wider field of view from the viewfinder on the Fuji X-T1 is nicer. Now, I can say the one big plus of all the Fujis, especially the Fuji X-T1, over any other camera, whether it be Nikon or Canon, is that, especially if you're an old fart or if you have failing eyesight, or especially like me if you're wearing glasses, looking through the viewfinder of the Fuji X-T1 is like looking through the porthole of a ship, whereas everything else is like looking through a toilet paper tube. Ah! Fuji didn't nail it out of the park. They nailed it into outer space like Superman hitting a baseball into into outer space when it came through the wide view from the viewfinder of the Fuji X-T1. It rates a 20 on a scale of 1 to 10, so that is absolutely awesome on the Fuji X-T1. I do love the fact that it is made in Japan, that it does have an all-aluminum chassis, but we have to be realistic here. I mean, that is really sort of gear slutdom bragging rights. I mean, you're not going to be using either one of these cameras to hammer nails, so who gives a damn? You should have insurance on either one of these cameras in case they take a drop, a loss, a spill, or theft, or whatever happens to them. So, you should have insurance on them if you can buy the insurance. So, I do love the longevity out of anything that's made in Japan over anything that's made in Southeast Asia, especially China. But I can say unquestionably, my MacBook Air, which is one of the finest tools ever made, I mean, it is made in China. So not everything made in China or Southeast Asia is crap, obviously so. Fuji X-T10 is certainly no exception. It's an exquisite little beast. It's a lot tinier. It's a lot lighter weight. Not that I give a damn about lightweight. I mean, I love big, heavy-ass cameras. As I said, use a Metabones adapter, which I have both. Use that on both my Fuji X-T1 and X-T10. I just have a huge plethora of exquisite manual focus lenses, both Voigtlander, Zeiss, and old Nikkor AI and AIS lenses, and on that these lenses are exquisite. I actually think the output on the Fuji, even the cheap little kit lens, which has a plastic mount on the rear of the lens, the 16 to 55, is exquisite, and I was actually shocked that the 18 to 55 has such incredible lack of vignetting, and it does prove to be, even though it's not a cheap lens, it does prove to be a wonderful, wonderful little kit lens that comes with this Fuji X-T1. Is it worth nearly twice as much money? That's questionable. I would say no. Definitely the Fuji X-T1, as far as value and bang for the buck, is flat out, have to be perfectly objective, is the better purchase. If you are a gear slut and you want all the manual dials and the weather sealing, like I said, weather sealing is a relative. None of them are sealed against pervasive. You want that and the all-magnesium chassis and the body that's made in Japan. And you're like me, you're a total slut for vertical grips, then the Fuji X-T1 is the choice. The objective, realistic, rational love for the Fuji X-T1 is certainly so. Its viewfinder, which is nothing short of absolutely exquisite. Looking through the viewfinder on the Fuji X-T1 is, let me cover up the eye sensor here, is just phenomenal. Especially if you're wearing glasses like me. To me, this is a little dream camera. That's actually the reason that I bought it, from having used it about a month and a half ago in borrow. That is an exquisite damn camera. Well, I have the neighbor coming over, and I don't know what he's doing. I think he's going to be using the leaf blower or something like that, so I'm going to stop making this video. I was at the end of the video anyway. So, yes, I am filming on the top of my freezer, by the way. I have to improvise down here at the other house in Florida. And, by the way, there was just a big old white speckled gecko that went climbing across the wall here in the kitchen, so I'll have to catch him and release him. South Florida is famous for geckos invading your house. They are very cute, however. They do like to hiss at you when you catch them. None of this is important to the Fuji cameras that I'm talking about. I just woke up. It's early in the morning. Thanks for watching. Like this video and drop me a buck or two. Send me any questions, and I will continue doing testing on the Fuji X-T1, X-T10. I've done already exhaustive testing on both, and I'm very ripe in my usage of the Fuji X-T10, and somewhat aged in my use of the Fuji X-T1. I love both of them, but unquestionably so, the best value, bang for the buck, is the Fuji X-T10. But, you know, make a rational decision on what it is you want and need, and go from there, okay? Bye.